DW Deutsche Welle. Spectrum.
Hello and welcome to Spectrum on DW, deep and dirty in the world of science and technology. I'm Wolfie Carabani, and coming up, the public consultation sparks hot debate over three-parent IVF in Britain.
This technique uses nuclear transfer. That's the same technique that's used in cloning, and we know that there are very severe health problems with cloned animals.
Also on the programme, a Minority Report for the operating theatre in Portugal, and the man who bears a bacterial radio.
I have this idea that I can hurl energy back to the sky and rage against God and nature like Ahab grabbing onto the jaws of the whale. I mean, this is
all that and more right here on Spectrum. Computer scientists in Australia have announced a breakthrough in quantum computing that they say could radically change data encryption and medicine. Professor Andrew Durack and his colleague Dr. Joe Murillo at Sydney's University of New South Wales say they've created the first ever quantum bit, or qubit, in silicon. Now, qubit is the fundamental unit of a quantum supercomputer. But from its very small beginning, it's said that quantum computing will be massively more powerful than your average PC, achieving a million parallel computations. Andrew Durack told me what they've done.
So what we've done is that we have demonstrated the first quantum bit in a silicon chip using a single atom to store that quantum information. So in current computers, they use bits of information, which are ways of storing zeros or ones in binary code, and that code is what all of the computations are done with. So you have to have the basic unit of information. In a conventional computer, that's done with silicon transistors, which are the way that you store and process the zeros and ones or the bits. In our quantum computer chip that we're building, our bit is stored on a single atom. In fact, we use an electron that is bound to that atom, and we use a property of that electron called its spin, or its magnetic orientation.
And perhaps we should roll this back just a little bit. I mean, perhaps you could explain what is it about quantum supercomputing? I mean, why is this so important for us?
Computers have had an enormous effect on modern society and the information age that we live in, particularly over the last 10 years, but indeed the last 50. Quantum computers, when they're large enough, when they're built to be large enough, are known to be able to solve a whole class of problems that currently just can't be solved with conventional computers. The sorts of problems include simulating other molecules or quantum systems or atomic systems, which may sound a little bit abstract. But in fact, all modern pharmaceuticals, biological systems and so on are based on complex molecules, and at the moment, it's not possible to model or simulate those using any modern computer. In fact, it never will be, in fact, because the difficulty of problems of solving molecular systems and atomic systems increases exponentially or grows very, very rapidly in complexity as you make the molecules more complex, and very, very quickly becomes simply impossible for existing computers.
So, Andrew, tell us, how did you go about doing this and conducting the research? What exactly did you do?
So what we've done, and it's very significant we've done it in silicon, we've taken a silicon transistor, which is not very different from the transistors that there are a billion of them on the chip in your mobile phone or in your laptop and so on. We've taken a modified silicon transistor, and next to it we've implanted an atom, in this case of phosphorus, and that phosphorus atom, we use an electron bound to it to store the quantum information. And the transistor next to it is used to first what we call initialize that bit of information to set it to zero. And it's also used to read out the state of that bit after we've performed quantum operations on it. So we can both read and write information on that single electron bound to that single atom.
It is quite mind-boggling, I have to admit. So tell us, what are the benefits? I mean, we're hearing that there are possible benefits for data encryption and medicine. For us, everyday people who use humble PCs and smartphones or just basic phones and games, gadgets, how are we going to feel the benefits?
What we think is that in the near term, most of these quantum computers will be done remotely. It'll be a little bit like cloud computing, because there will initially be a small class of problems that would overlap with everyday users, okay? say, consumer electronics, there'd be a very small number of problems initially. And quantum computers will primarily be used like big supercomputers are today. So they'll be, used by companies, industries who need to do very advanced modelling of systems and so on. In particular, obviously, drug companies and biological research companies. But it's just important to look back in history, right back to 1947, which is the time when the first transistor was invented. When the transistor was invented, which really made modern silicon chips and computer processors possible, it took about 20 years before a chip had enough bits on it, enough transistors on it, were there to start to perform computations that couldn't be done by older methods. And during that time, there weren't really many programs, or, apps as they're now called, that were even thought of that could be used. And we think the same thing's going to happen for quantum computers. You see, the quantum computer provides the type of processing that currently simply isn't available. So programmers don't even really know how to make use of it yet. And we believe that as these become more and more available and it's possible to start to use these quantum computers, that more and more applications will become available. So initially, it'll be advanced design of new types of drugs or new types of materials, maybe stronger and lighter nanomaterials. But in the future, who knows? It could be all the way from predicting weather to modelling financial systems and so on.
Professor Andrew Durack of the Centre of Quantum Computation and Communication Technology at the University of New South Wales. And the next step for Durack and his team is to combine qubit pairs in a logic gate, which would be the basic processing unit of a quantum computer. So all eyes on Sydney. Now, fertility researchers in the UK say they've developed a groundbreaking treatment to prevent mitochondrial disease. Mitochondrial disease is a disorder that can be inherited from a mother to a child and can affect cell function in various ways. The new treatment involves the modification of DNA and IVF pregnancies. If it's approved, it will be the first such treatment in the UK and around the world. But because it involves both IVF and genes from a third person, the treatment is highly controversial. Researchers have launched a mass public consultation. Tipona Chimbelli reports on what's being dubbed three-parent IVF.
Mary Austin, who's featured in this Welcome Trust video, is worried about her 11-year-old son. Adam suffers from mitochondrial disease.
I just did a breast kidney. I was told he could end up needing a heart transplant somewhere down the line.
Mary Austin has the gene for the disease, which despite not affecting her health, has affected her eggs. They have deformed mitochondria. Once an egg is fertilized, mitochondria is responsible for the development of vital organs in humans like the heart, kidneys, lungs, and brain. But as many as 6,500 babies are born with severe forms of mitochondrial disease in the UK every year, which means that one or more of their vital organs start to function properly. And for these babies, there is no cure. But researchers at the UK's Human Fertility and Embryology Authority, HFEA, say they can prevent the disease. Peter Thompson, the head of HFEA, says the disease can be prevented by transplanting the nucleus of an embryo from a mother and father into a healthy egg, which is donated by a third person.
An interesting comparison, perhaps, is to think of frog spawn, which you might have looked at as a child, where the black bit in the middle surrounded by the jelly-like substance. And effectively, the black bit, if you need that as a nucleus, that's where almost all of your DNA material is, from your mother and father.
It's the donated egg that has caused much of the controversy around the treatment. But HFEA says a child's DNA would only contain about 35 genes for the donor, out of more than 35,000 genes overall. So that's around 0.1%. Critics of the proposed treatment are calling it a three-parent IVF solution. Some bioethicists say they are most concerned about a modification of DNA. David King is with Human Genetics Alert.
This company uses nuclear transfer, which is to say taking all the nucleus from one cell and putting it into another. That's the same technique that's used in cloning, and we know that there are very severe health problems with cloned animals. Many of them are aborted before they're born. They're born sort of twice the normal size, or with deformities. Some of them die shortly after birth. Some of them have long-term, physiological problems.
But for people like Mary Austin, the new technique means other families may be spared what she and her family are going through.
She's thinking, my son should be doing like what other kids can. I mean, You can't physically, I mean, it's like you run, you can't even ride a bike properly.
But David King says there are other solutions for carriers of the disease, like Mary Austin.
There already exists a very good alternative technique for preventing the transmission of these mitochondrial conditions, which is just simple egg donation, which is safe and reliable and effective and perfectly ethical. Actually, that risk to the child's health is being taken only for the fact that the mother will be genetically related to her child.
Many people will go to great lengths to have a biological child. It's one reason why standard forms of IVF are so popular. Every day, doctors who use IVF select healthy embryos for implantation and describe others. And fetuses are screened for diseases, and women can terminate a pregnancy if disorders such as Down syndrome are detected early enough. And while David King says he's pro-choice, he also believes that allowing the modification of human DNA is a step too far.
That's one of those arguments which says, oh, well, we're already doing something that may be wrong, so let's come on and do more of the same. If something's wrong, it's wrong, and we shouldn't do it. It's not designing your child, it's selecting your child. I have a very great deal of sympathy with the clever people who say that this is a continuation of the eugenics that we saw in the first part of the 20th century, and it's just simply a way of avoiding the birth of disabled children. I've got a great deal of sympathy with that argument. However, once you get into actually genetically manipulating your child, that goes a great deal further.
But there's still a long way to go before HFEA's proposed treatment is approved at all events. Here's the authorities, Peter Thompson again.
We've been asked by the UK government to undertake a public consultation to seek the public's views on the ethical and social issues involved in mitochondria replacement.
The public consultation runs until December. Questions include how the child's identity may be affected and whether he or she should be told about the donor egg. It will be spring 2013 before the results are presented to the British Ministry of Health, which will then have to make its own recommendations to Parliament.
Chipondo Chimbolo reporting there. Now, the UK's Met Office has also been working on its computers, and forecasters there say they've designed a new computer model that will help them predict extreme weather seasons better than before. The new model, known as Glossy 4, estimates sudden stratospheric warnings. Sudden stratospheric warnings happen at an altitude of about 50 kilometres, and when they do, they cause cold weather on the surface. But until now, they've largely been ignored. We spoke to the head of seasonal forecasting at the UK Met Office, Dr. Adam Skate.